It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right, I didn't see NXT yesterday. Collision's rating tanked, and yes, WWE tweeted Dem Boyz to the Street Profits. Bye.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster.
Most of that's true. Actually, most of that's true. Good evening, everybody. A little bit loopy today. I just posted one of the most hated tweets probably of the year. We'll open up with it. And I know some of you know what I'm talking about already. What's up, everyone? It is Sunday night, December 10th, 2023. We are 15 days away from Christmas. We are 22 days away from New Year's Day. And interesting, January 1st, 2024 lands on a Monday. New year. Something new coming, or what's old is new again? Maybe. To be continued. Earlier today, and I'll get into everybody's questions in a second because that's what Sundays are all about. The sit down that we do every Sunday night is the lazy show, as I like to call it, and I say that with love. I show up with nothing, and everybody who is live, tell me what you want to talk about. You give me the questions, you give me the comments, and I share it with everyone. So in order to be interactive and to contribute, all you got to do is just show up Sundays, hang out in the chat room. It is free. And as always, I always say it, super chats are never required, but they do help pay the bills, keeps us in business, and we'll always get a little bit of VIP treatment. And early on, I saw, and I got to thank Kevin Hardy and who was it? Mikey Ravello, who brought something up. And we have to open up with this before we go any further. Did I see WWE on Fox tweet Dem Boyz talking about the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley? Mikey thinks it was done in poor taste and it should be taken down. Do I agree with him? And Kevin Hardy asked me earlier, he would love to know my thoughts on today's Twitter madness with Mark Briscoe calling out Triple H for the WWE on Fox account, saying Dem Boyz for Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, and Maria Kanellis deleted a post too. Well, I posted, I always get, for a long time, friends and followers of what I do, they always say, bring the asshole DT back. The asshole DT never left. It's just I'm not going to force being a jerk unless I really feel it's necessary. And, I'm going to say things and tell it like it is. And I'll be honest with you, something that is definitely going to change in 2024 is I'm not holding back like I used to. Being a little bit more politically correct doesn't seem to be paying the bills. No, I do not put on a fake persona, but I do catch myself many times from saying something. And no more. I think it's time. You see yesterday a little lighthearted joke about Lexus King's chin, his beard. It looks like a pair of tits. I offended so many people. And the funny thing is, most of the people that I offended when I go on their social media profile, they must have, made a promise to celibacy. I don't see any of them married with boyfriend, girlfriend, animal, neighbor, nothing. Fuck you if you can't take a lighthearted joke. But what was the asshole tweet that I posted today? Okay, I got to set this up. Very, very important. And please do not assume you know how I feel about this. On Friday, during SmackDown, when Bobby Lashley won his match and went to the back with the Street Profits, WWE on Fox's Twitter account posted a picture of them and wrote, Dem Boyz. Well, over the last 24 hours, there has been an unbelievable uproar because Dem Boyz, we all love to be the Briscoes. There's only one team in wrestling, past, present, or future, that will ever beat Dem Boyz, and it's the Briscoes. And WWE on Fox got their ass handed to them today. Mark Briscoe calling for whoever works that social media account to be fired. He did later on pull back on that and say, look, I'm just thinking about my brother. And I want to make this clear. I do not criticize Mark Briscoe at all, or anybody who was very close to Jay Briscoe who got offended by it. But for everyone else that not only had this weird outrage about it, because even Mark Briscoe's like, I signed on to Twitter tonight. Whoa, what's going on with some of you? You know, let it go. You know, like calm down. Because he even saw it. And you know what the interesting thing is? You see a lot of these people trying to get ad revenue. And what they'll do is they'll be one of the first to post right underneath. They don't put their own tweets. They'll post it right under as a comment, because every time somebody goes to Mark Briscoe's tweet, they see all the responses. So if he gets 1 million views and you're right underneath it, you're going to be the beneficiary of a couple 100,000 views. Now, I want to make this clear. Does that mean that everybody that was doing that, their sole purpose was to get hits, views, and ad revenue? No, not at all. But you could tell who they are. And this leads to me not trying to be an asshole, but you got to call it like I see it. And the funny thing is, as of right now, as I'm looking at my tweet, it's gotten a total of 3 likes and 2 retweets. And it's been up for an hour. And it's been seen by about 10,000 people. What did I write earlier today in response to this story? I wrote a little poem. And what I wrote was, 'twas the 8th of September, 2023. WWE on Fox posted this. And the outrage I see is similar to today, but with many absentees. September 8th, 2023. WWE on Fox posted Dem Boyz showing the Judgment Day. And 99% of the people not, truly offended by it were all fucking absent on this post, unless everybody deleted their tweets back then, or maybe there was a big power outage and I'm not aware of, or maybe they were all out for ice cream. You know, I don't think the WWE on Fox Twitter account is employed by a hardcore wrestling fan that knows about Ring of Honor, or maybe even knows about the Briscoes. And guess what? If that same person tweeted this in September of 2023 and only got 41 responses, that screenshot is from today. 41 responses to Dem Boyz in September of 2023. Today, there are tens of thousands of responses. Why? Because Mark Briscoe got offended. Period. That's why. Where the fuck were all of you in September 8th of 2023 when WWE tweeted that? Don't give me that fucking bullshit. Now, I want to make this clear. Back in September of 2023, I called out WWE for the ignorance of not realizing this and not taking it down. This tweet is still up there. It is still up there. Either nobody bothered to look to see. Nobody else has this up there, guys. You could do an advanced Twitter search and you'd be like, holy shit, it is there. I'm the only one that said, you know what? I got to see if WWE on Fox ever tweeted that before. And guess what? There was no outrage to have it taken down. Some fans were outraged. Absolutely. There are some fans today legitimately hurt by it. Some wrestlers close to Jay Briscoe legitimately hurt by it. But I don't think it was done to diminish the legacy of Jay Briscoe. I don't think it was done to mock the Briscoes in any way. This is what happens in social media when you deal with corporations and millionaires and lazy billionaires that are like, hey, woo, tweet something for me. Tweet an apology to Tony Khan. Woo! You think these people are... Listen, you could tell when wrestlers are tweeting because unfortunately, especially from back in the day, 99% of them don't know how to use grammar. Either everything is capital letters or periods are supposed to be where commas are, and there's exclamation points, and there's 3-word sentences. You know when someone actually is tweeting their own shit. Most of these people have assistants, and it's a God honest truth. So honestly, my take on this is I don't think the WWE on Fox account was intending to be malicious in any way, shape, or form. However, because there was some, and this is what I'm saying, listen to me carefully, because there was some outrage in September by some fans, 41 of them, they should have said, okay, look, what's this phrase about? Oh, okay, all right, we won't post that again. And it shouldn't have been posted again. The tweet today that I saw from the Street Profits, was a mistake. I will also say this, and I want everybody to remember what I'm saying right now. Friday SmackDown was the tribute to the troops. Montez Ford was military. Bobby Lashley was military. They are very highly respected in our world. Angelo Dawkins, I'm not trying to diminish. My point is, they didn't use that phrase to a couple of scrubs. These are 3 very, very good guys, 2 military, tribute to the troops. It was not done maliciously. And honestly, was it a mistake? Yes. But all of this outrage today, a good portion of it, where the fuck were you on September 8th? See, people could delete tweets. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way that you could somehow insert a tweet and backdate it from September 8th. Where were all of you? Where were all of you? Seriously. I checked September 8th. No major pay-per-views, no major events, no catastrophes, no blackouts, no burnouts, no forest fires that burned down neighborhoods. Where were all of you? Where were all of you September 8th? That's how I roll. Tell it like it is. I don't give a shit. Not trying to be a jerk, but sometimes you got to call shit like you see it. And that's why my tweet only has 3 likes right now. Who the fuck is going to go on record and say, yeah, DT, yeah. Who's going to do that? We have a world of pussies that are afraid of going against the grain about anything. They won't even like something because they're afraid that somebody is going to review all the likes. I've had people get blocked. When I used to really tweet crazy 5-6 years ago, I used to have people that followed my shows like, DT, fuck, so-and-so blocked me. And I'm like, why? It's like, I didn't say nothing. All I did was like your post. And they get blocked. So I get it. Some people just don't want to be blocked. But, man, we have a world of fucking pussies. Don't have the balls to stand up for nothing. So, all right. So hopefully I answered that. By the way, tomorrow night on Raw, we have, I believe, Drew McIntyre taking on Jey Uso again. Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Cody Rhodes. Hopefully that ends in a clusterfuck and that feud continues. And CM Punk will make his decision. He is signed to the WWE, but which brand will he be a part of? Will he be a part of Raw? Or will he be a part of SmackDown? As you could see in my preview, we know what he's going to do. He is going to sign with Raw. And what I did is a little treat. That is not a real contract, but what I did is a little treat for those who are on video. If you zoom in, for anybody that wants to try to copy this and use it for their own, The contract actually says December 11th, 2023, to whom it may concern. The signee of this superstar contract, created fictitiously by the Don Tony Show, hereby understands as this legally binding contract is obligated to the terms and conditions as a superstar performer employed by the World Wrestling Entertainment and its subsidiary brand Monday Night Raw, and agrees to perform said duties until his contract expires or is terminated. The WWE reserves its right to terminate the contract at any point and without reason. This contract is also void since it was created by Don Tony if it's entered under duress or coercion. This document shall serve as a legal binding agreement amongst all parties signed to Monday Night Raw, December 11, 2023. These parties include CM Punk. This contract is drawn by Don Tony in a coffee shop located in none of your fucking business, Queens, New York, delivered in the state of Connecticut, and laws of Connecticut shall apply to its execution, arbitration, or context. That's actually the WWE contracts that they actually use when they ever have somebody sign, like Julius Creed recently and Ivy Nile and Brutus Creed. I just had to add a couple of words. So if someone is going to try to steal this, they're going to have to do a little bit of editing and a little bit of artwork. So, but we know what's going to happen tomorrow on Raw. We know. I did not see most of NXT Deadline as of yet. I am watching it tonight. I did see some of the highlights. If you followed my predictions, you made some money yesterday. The only thing that we kind of twisted a little bit was Blair Davenport, because I said Blair Davenport's winning this, but then I was a little concerned about Nikita Lyons. Will she blow it for Blair Davenport? But everything, even Carmelo Hayes and Lexis King opening up early and then closing out with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams as they go off the air, everything yesterday. Trick Williams won. Blair Davenport, Ilya Dragunov retains his title. Dragon Lee wins the NXT North American Championship. And if you remember the predictions on Wednesday, the Judgment Day will not be there. And dissension goes further. And we got what we got. But I will say this, the clips that I did see, excellent. Everybody worked hard. I am very, very happy that Kiana James got her breakout win. And we even said, will Cora Jade make her return at Deadline? And that happened. The only thing is that Cora Jade did not fuck with Roxanne Perez. She actually helped, it was Izzy Dane helping Kiana James defeat Roxanne Perez. And not only that, CM Punk made an appearance, had a little fun interaction with Shawn Michaels in the ring, which I did see. You know, if you tuned into yesterday's Don Tony show, and I actually got a little announcement too in a minute. If you tuned into yesterday's Don Tony show, something that I brought up that you could see clearly a big difference now to even 6 months ago, or the vibe. CM Punk legitimately looks like he's having fun. Those smiles, that laughter actually looks legit. You could tell when someone is faking it. And you see the funny thing is, if you see a lot of the CM Punk screenshots from AEW, very rare do you see him smile all that much. Very rare. And believe me, I've done image Google searches. It usually is not a lot of laughter. And usually when you get laughter in AEW, it's usually a goofy comedy segment. It doesn't feel like that vibe where everybody's having a good time. You know, you hear, even if it's storyline, you see what Britt Baker wrote on Twitter, and I think Britt Baker is part of the Devil's Rejects storyline. You look at Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy complaining Andrade's contract is coming to a close very, very soon. You look at all the stuff that's been going down. You know, you don't feel that vibe. It doesn't come across that locker room is having a great fucking, you know who's having a great time in that locker room besides the people in the back? The wrestlers that don't have a shot much anywhere else. Like they'll be working for, indie championship wrestling. The ones that don't have it, whether they haven't gotten it yet, whether they haven't learned it yet, or they'll never get it. Those are the ones that are having the greatest time because they're getting an opportunity. They're probably getting paid a little bit much than they should have. So they're the ones that are having the greatest time there. And they're the ones that run to the defense. And those who have power. Power is good. What's that movie? Greed is good. Wall Street. So you see the ones who have power there, they're the ones that seem to be the happiest. Shit, if I had all this power, I'd be fucking happy as well. I control other people's destinies. So, all right, enough of me rambling. Let's finish up this show like it's designed for. The sit down is simple. You ask the questions. We talk about it. You have a comment. You want me to share it. I will be more than happy to do so. And I want to also mention earlier, because Brandon Krago wrote this before we went live, and some of you brought this up in the last few minutes. My thoughts on Trent Seven showing up on Final Resolution for Impact Wrestling and signing a contract with TNA. It's a good signing. For those that don't know Trent Seven, he was in NXT for a little while, teamed up with Tyler Bate, one half of Mustache Mountain. The only thing about Trent Seven, and you really need to understand this, is that he's not a household name. And he's got to be in his 40s. Now, yes, in 2023, 40 is the new 30. So he still has years left in his career. But at this stage of the game, is Trent Seven going to really change things? Motherfucking Okada just showed up in Impact. And you have, put it this way, more people tweeted about it than are going to watch Impact Wrestling. Okada's there, and this, if Impact works out a deal, it's like the lightest deal possible. They can't afford to be signing people like this. Now, yesterday we had a great conversation about the TNA Plus streaming deal that's going down with Endeavor, which is fascinating, because you would think this would be a conflict of interest with WWE's, business. So I'm wondering if WWE and TNA may be doing some additional business in the future. And that would make things a little bit more interesting. But right now, TNA doesn't have the revenue. Why do you think they're doing a TNA switch? To try to generate more buzz, get a little bit of old school. What's old is new again, trying to get people to tune into the old footage. There's a lot of reasons why they're doing it. If things were going as great as they could right now, you wouldn't change the damn thing. Why would you change something if things are going great? So they have a lot of issues. So just opening up the checkbook because somebody in New Japan and, a group on a newsletter and a very, very tiny bit of the internet wrestling community that's very, very loud, and Tony Khan and those who love Japanese wrestling are infatuated with Okada. But let's be honest, 99% of the American wrestling fans, and I can only speak for America, don't really give a shit about Okada. They respect him. They think he's one of the greatest wrestlers of this generation. I mean, I have talked about Okada many times before. He's won some awards on some of the Blackheart stuff we did in the past. But, I mean, honestly, if I went to an indie wrestling event tomorrow, or if I went to WWE and I took out a picture of Okada and I said, who that? I guarantee you 97 out of 100 people will say, I think that's the guy down the block that's selling Chinese food. I think he's the one that's selling in the food truck over there. Or he looks familiar. Is that Jackie Chan? They're not going to know who Okada is. And that's just the God honest truth. That's just the God honest truth. He's not a household name yet. So Impact Wrestling is not going to break the bank and fucking open up to Okada. If Okada was in WWE for an extended period of time, let me use an example. Shinsuke Nakamura. If Shinsuke Nakamura went to Impact Wrestling, now you're talking. Tajiri back in the day, if Tajiri went there, now you're talking on a shorter scale. But if I showed you an Italian guy, if I showed you the pizza guy, remember the pizza guy that showed up in AEW once, Mario, the pizza guy. If I fucking went to an indie event and showed him a picture of a who's that, I guarantee you 97 out of 100 people are going to say, isn't that your dad? Wait, that's the guy from fucking The Sopranos. Nobody's going to know who he is. The only reason why they might know who he is is because the mustache. Nobody knows him yet. Impact is not breaking the bank. And let's also be honest, this Julia stuff, these reporters writing this shit, do you think that any of them talk to Julia? Julia's neighbors, Julia's lovers, Julia's lawyer, WWE lawyers, Nick Khan, TKO Group Holdings, Triple H. You tell me who they could possibly talk to that is going to claim WWE has had talks with Julia. They said the same thing about Will Ospreay. They didn't have one. They didn't have one talk with Will Ospreay. Now they're saying this about Julia? No, it's the same thing. It's just like the Warner Brothers Discovery stuff that we talked about the other day. That Warner Brothers Discovery, Nick Khan pitched them an idea in October, and they said, no, we're not interested. We're very, Tony Khan is very loyal to us. But take note that media never told you what Nick Khan proposed. Why? Because they don't want to go on record of saying something wrong. So they'll just say, Tony Khan pitched something. Yeah, he pitched something to like 50 networks. So they won't tell you what it is. They'll say, oh, he pitched something. All right. I think Julia legitimately could sign with AEW. I don't know, no pun intended, how much of an impact that'll be. But I personally think Julia would be best served in Impact Wrestling if TNA would be interested. Because remember, Deonna Purrazzo is leaving. Deonna Purrazzo is going to be gone if she's not gone already from TNA. So you need a major women's wrestler in that company, not named Mercedes Moné. Mercedes Moné is not the answer. She is obviously the number one woman that's out there that's not in WWE. But Julia, that is someone where, because, in the U.S., most people, listen, again, if I go to a fucking wrestling event tomorrow and I show 100 people a picture of Julia, you think someone is going to say to me, oh, yeah, that's Julia? You might get 2 people that say that. They're not going to know who she is. That would be a good signing by Impact, because she's not a household name yet. So she gets the opportunity to become a household name. Then, if you're WWE, you snatch her up when she gets a little bit of exposure. Okie doke. Let's go to the chat. Let's spend some time here. We're about 30 minutes in. Actually, I take it back. We got one more super shout out we got to do. And this is one of our, homeboys here, Guardian of Chaos. By the way, shout out to OTS Tribal Queen. She is now a moderator here. And hopefully she's not Vince Russo with breasts, because she is OTS. She is from the JD from New York family. So we don't want to find out that it's like Vince Russo going to WCW and then she's here to destroy. No, I'm only kidding. No, she's good people. Trust me. I've talked to people, and welcome. Do your thing. Enjoy. Shout out to Chaos and Austin Nance too. Chaos, my thoughts on Marshall and Ross Von Erich debuting this Wednesday in AEW. Have I seen their work in MLW? Yes, I have. Welcome to the new mod. Yes, OTS Tribal Queen. Much love and respect. Thank you for the 20 spot, my friend. I really do appreciate it very much. I've seen their work. MLW is never going to be that next promotion. It's not the little engine that could. It's the little engine that wants to, and hopefully could put a new nitrous oxide engine in if they settle with WWE. That's what they are. Then MLW is not the little engine that could. They just hope that this lawsuit, that WWE settles, and honestly, WWE ain't settling. They ain't settling. If I'm Court Bauer and look, we'll settle for anything. If I'm Nick Khan, I'd be like, you know what? How's about a 3-month subscription of Peacock? That's what I would offer Court Bauer. I used to hate Court Bauer. Then I liked Court Bauer. Then I heard a lot of shady shit going on with MLW right now. I mean, honestly, I don't think he's malicious. I just think he's like, he's got good thoughts and aspirations of what he wants to do at MLW. The problem is, Mike Johnson doesn't have the pull like he did 20 years ago. He couldn't get those big wrestling news sites where they got front page news, because I went through that. When MLW, and I know this is a repeat story for some of you out there, but a lot of you don't know this. When MLW was doing their shows mostly in Florida, and they actually had a weekly TV show here in New York, I was working for Frank Goodman and USA Pro Wrestling. And one time we were going to have Shane Douglas versus Raven in a cage. I think this was like 2005 or 2006. We were going to have the main event in a cage. Now, I went halves with Frank Goodman on this show, and it was not cheap to, not only pay these guys, but in a cage, and the card was spectacular. And we were asking all the websites, hey, could you plug this? We're having this event in a month. And on PW Insider, because I think it was PW Insider already. I don't think it was OneWrestling.com still, but it would be on like page 13. And MLW would get front page headlines, and I'm fine with that. I can't force someone to make it front page news. But when MLW aired their commercial for their upcoming event in Florida, they advertised Shane Douglas. So everybody that I was selling tickets for was like, wait, MLW had Shane Douglas for the same day. So we told Frank, and Frank and I called Shane Douglas up, and we were like, hey, what's the deal with Florida? He's like, no, I'm coming to New York. I'm not working MLW in Florida. So we told Mike Johnson, because he was the one giving Court Bauer a hand job that time. I said, because he and Mike Johnson was advertising the Florida event for Shane Douglas. And believe me, I still got screenshots, but I don't think anybody's interested in seeing them. I emailed both of them, like, look, you stop advertising that, because Shane Douglas is here in New York. And you're confusing a lot of people. And Mike Johnson's like, don't worry about it. We'll take it down. Court Bauer's like, yeah, no, we had that filmed already. We'll take it down. Not only did Mike Johnson not take it down, the motherfucker posted it again 2 days later. And a week later, the commercial aired again. He no-showed Florida. He did come to New York, and we did well. We did fine. But this was the snake bullshit going on at the time. So I was never the biggest fan with Court Bauer, but as years go by, you don't hold grudges. And, he really does want MLW to work. Unfortunately, they don't have the capital. They don't have the connections. They don't have the resources. And they're not going to get the momentum anytime soon. Because if anybody's available out there, like, why are you going to go to MLW? For real. Why wouldn't you go to GCW? Why wouldn't you go to House of Glory? Why wouldn't you go to AEW, WWE, NXT? Why wouldn't you go to those promotions first? Even Ring of Honor. Like, why would you go to MLW? What's the reason? It's not like in a beautiful area of Florida, like, oh, I could bake all day and hang out in the sun and fucking surf and fucking work at nights. And there's no incentive. Some of the people that were in MLW were stuck in these contracts. So to see them in AEW, I think that's great. The problem is, what's going to happen 2-3 months from now? Like, yeah, they're in there because of the movie. That's why they're in AEW. If this movie wasn't coming out, I don't know if they would be in AEW right now. And how much of a push are they really going to get? And even if they do get a little bit of momentum, what happens 3 months from now? You look at Powerhouse Hobbs. You look at, other people. They give you this perception, that somebody is getting a push, and they're not. They're not. So them in AEW would be fun, and they have a legacy, but I personally think the only reason why it's happened is because the movie is coming out. They're still very young. I look like a lobster. You're right. What the fuck is up with my color? And yeah, let me fix this. If everybody doesn't mind, this should, you know what? I could go there we go. I have like quick programs. I call them like emergency sweat programs. Like, I could go into my camera and start adjusting color, but that's a little bit too advanced. And then if my camera freezes and I'm like, for 10 minutes, then is a problem. But I have another program where I can override everything and I could just change shit up. So yeah, thank you very much for telling me. I normally don't look at myself while I'm doing the show, because I might freak out. So look, Marshall and Ross, they'll do a good job. They're very talented. And it's nice to see that we have some Von Erichs in wrestling still and Von Erichs that can actually go. So they're very talented. Let's see how far they go. And let's see where they are in the food chain 3 months from now. I could see them in the Ring of Honor part of things. I personally think right now, mainstream wrestling fans would not care all that much. I think Ring of Honor might be a better place to put them. Thank you, Chaos, for that. Cappy Caveman, happy 19-month anniversary being a member of the family. Do I think we'll see Riddle back in GCW for a bit? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. If you missed, not yesterday, but last Saturday's Don Tony show, while I was live, when we were shouting out him and Misha, they got their son was born. They were tuning in. And I got a text message live on the show, and he wants to come on. He wants, to have a conversation with me. I'll be honest with you. I want to do it, but I want to have, good things to talk about. I don't want to do, what made you get into wrestling? Or what's your thoughts about this? I was thinking, what question would I ask? And I was going to bring up, how did you deal with the COVID era? How did you deal with not having fans in attendance? How hard was that? Your relationship with Randy Orton and a few other things, some of the bullshit going on online. And, but then people will say, you got to bring up JFK. You got to bring up the women. And it's that's for Ariel Helwani to ask, not me. So maybe I'll wait, let him do some of the big interviews that he is doing. You will see them soon. And then maybe I'll have him on for a little bit. All right. Kevin Milwaukee says I was 3.5 notches away from the color of Trump. I have no idea why I looked orange like that. I didn't change anything from yesterday. I'm looking around. None of the settings are different. I don't know what the hell happened. So remember the early days, a couple of years ago when we were doing video? And I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I just went balls in. And we would get audio problems, video problems. People couldn't hear me. I'd be like, and people can't hear you. And I would be sweating. I mean, I just look like Roosh. You ever see Roosh after a match? Honestly, if I'm his wife or his lover, the last thing I want to do is hug that son of a bitch after a match. I don't care if he won a belt, if he main evented WrestleMania and won the World Heavyweight Championship. If I'm Roosh's wife, because I know he's married, I'd be like, go take a shower. I mean, I never saw somebody sweat like that. I think the last time I saw somebody sweat like that was probably George the Animal Steel or the Sandman. The Sandman, when he sweats, that wrestling event that I worked in Spanish Harlem when he caned me with the Singapore cane, I went into the corner and pretended like I was spraying him with hairspray and it wouldn't come out. And then I shaked it and I turned it around and sprayed myself in the face with it. He was right next to me. And right before he Singapore caned me, it smelled, I don't even know how to explain it. It smelled like armpits and I don't know, like gorgonzola cheese, or you know what it smelled like? You ever smell like rotten liverwurst? It smelled like rotten liverwurst. Or if you were forced to and you went down on a woman that's 78 years old and hasn't taken a shower since Reagan was president, that's how bad it smelled. It really, and you know what? I think Missy Hyatt many years ago did a shoot interview and said that Sandman is one of the smelliest people ever in wrestling. And the other reason why I'm thinking of the Sandman right now is because I uploaded a retro episode on Patreon today, and it was the episode where Sandman got arrested, I think in 2006. So, for real. Oh, you could do the spray thing. I don't have any spray here. I don't have any good spray. I could show you how you do it, but I don't have any spray here right now. I'm sorry. So, Somebody asked earlier, and forgive me, I don't remember who your name was. Do I think CM Punk will be in the WWE Hall of Fame within 5 years? And would it be obviously dependent on his relationship? Yeah, look, he burns a bridge. He ain't going in no WWE Hall of Fame. Do I think CM Punk goes in 5 years? No. I think CM Punk could stick around in wrestling for way more than that. CM Punk is not as old as you think. He's been somewhat injury prone since he came back. But remember this too, and I'm not trying to call AEW sloppy shop, and I'm not trying to criticize AEW. But, you know, AEW, and honestly, straight up, so, some people I'm friendly with that work there, I have a feeling they would tell me the same thing. It's got an indie vibe to it. And what I mean by it is this. When you see WWE, you get that aura, that vibe that everybody goes to the gym. They work out in the performance center. Like they go into a town, they might go to the local World's Gym and work out and exercise, do cardio, do things like that. AEW gives me the vibe like an indie promotion where everybody flies in, checks into their hotel, and they have to show up at the arena at, let's say, 2:00. And that's it. Like, some people will train. Some people absolutely will train. Some people do care. But I don't think that AEW was, really, I don't think they could force their roster to work out and train and do cardio and stuff. I think it's up to the wrestlers. And I think for some people, I think that they did not work out as much, or that hard-nosed, stringent, way the WWE roster does. Because when everybody goes to the gym, like, no, I'm going to hang out and I'm going to game. I think after a while, if you start fucking up in the ring, you look at what happened with Bodie Hayward and a few others in NXT. I miss that guy. I can't believe WWE has not brought him back and given him a second chance. But some of these guys, when everybody else was training and working out and trying to do a little bit extra, they're just like enjoying life. I think that's probably the right way to say it. Like, life is good. And that's great and everything. But if you have that attitude and you're not developing in the ring as quickly as you should, you're out of there. See Last Legend yesterday? I saw some clips of what she did. I'm so happy for Last Legend. I thought she would end up like Shaniqua and become a basketball coach for the WNBA. I never thought Last Legend would be able to pick up on it. And she's now starting to put it together. I was shocked when she was added to Deadline. She had pressure yesterday, and she stepped up. And that's someone, because of her non-wrestling background, you have a little bit bigger leash. Last Legend. But if she had an indie wrestling background and had the ability that she had up until like 6 months ago, I don't know if WWE would have kept her. I think they would have let her go. All right. Let's go to the chat room. Last Legend, I give her credit, man. She's still got a long way to go. Let's be honest. We appreciate she's put in a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. Funny thing is, I want to see Last Legend standing toe to toe with Jade Cargill. I think they are very, very similar in height, and Jade Cargill a little bit more cut, as far as her build is. But I think that would be really interesting to see them next to each other. Last Legend, like when they did the Halloween stuff with Tozawa, it was a little goofy. But I was like, you know what? Metaphor is starting to, I'm warming up on them. And I never thought in a million years. So Chaos says when he traveled in the late 80s with the SSTs and Michael P.S. Hayes learning the business, we ate, drank, partied, worked out, and drove together. But that was a very different world. Oh, yeah. I mean, 80s, it's much different. Even the 90s. When I got a little involved starting in the early 2000s, listen, my first experience was XPW. And, you go to the hotel afterwards, and, I've told the stories before. That was one giant party. And it was crazy. I don't need to bring it up here. I think some people will get mad rehashing stories, but XPW was a wild ride. And you got somebody running up and down naked in the hotel room, and you walk to Rob. I mean, I could say this now. You walk to Rob Black's hotel room because you got to get money. And right next to his hotel room, there's a door open halfway, and you look inside the door, and there's a former indie wrestling valet trying to get a job. And let's just say that she wasn't on a couch, but she was on a bed. It was a casting bed, it seemed like. That was pretty, not bizarre, but it was like, this is the world. But unfortunately, even when I did indie wrestling work, there were, I don't want to use the term rats. I think that's offensive, but there were no rats like, oh, Don Tony, cannoli man, come on, give me a cannoli. No, there was none. There was none. The only time I had the opportunity to score with someone, I had to supply something, and it was not condoms. I'm not going to say who it is and what it was, but some of you with your twisted memory will say who it is. And it's somebody that's still with us, but we will not expose that person. So, yeah, the Road Warriors. Oh my God. I got to bring the Masked Maniac on one time just to tell the story about Hawk and the Jungle Room at the Q Motor Inn here in New York. I might even still have that audio. And when he was working with the Road Warriors, and he had to get a hotel room for the Road Warriors here in Queens, he booked the Q Motor Inn. Now, for those that don't know what the Q Motor Inn is, it's a hotel right on Union Turnpike near what we call the Interborough Parkway, the Jackie Robinson Parkway. And it's in, I guess it would be Forest Hills, Queens. And it was notorious in the 80s and the 90s that if you just want to get laid, you go there, rent it for 4 hours, and they had special rooms. They would have a room with a waterbed. They would have a mirror room. They would have a future room, and it was all like Space Invader stuff. They would have a jungle room, and, you would rent it out. So Masked Maniac, he's still alive. He's on Twitter. You think I'm making this up? By all means, guys, you could give him this timestamp. What are we, 47 minutes in? He will tell you what I'm saying is to the T. He rents a room for the Road Warriors, and the only room that's available is the Jungle Room. And the Jungle Room, I've seen the Jungle Room, and there's probably pictures on Google Images, and it would have like vines, and it had like a hammock. It looked like tropical Hawaii with coconuts and this and that. And they check in, and they see like all these fucking like gangster hip hop guys looking to get laid. It looks like they're doing drug deals in the lobby of the Q Motor Inn. You used to be able to rent XXX movies because everything was VHS still at the time. So they had a vending machine. You put $5 in and you rent the XXX movie. And you see people going in with prostitutes. And he calls up Frank. He's like, you gave me the Jungle Room. And I fucking lost it. I lost it. They were like, I'm in the Jungle Room. Well, you gave me the Jungle Room. That's the only room that was available. So just imagine the Road Warriors after working whatever it was, the USA event in the Meadowlands. And yeah, they're in the Jungle Room. So God honest truth, I have 1,000 stories like that. But that was epic, man. Just the picturing them like walking in. And remember, this is the 80s. So, you're still like Houdini, Run DMC. I think DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince came around. LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. That's the era. But you walk in and you got Jersey Shore and you got people just trying to get laid for 4 hours, people cheating on their wives. And they walk in and they got the Jungle Room. I could only imagine what they heard that night, because all over everybody's getting laid. And you just hear like beds rocking and stuff. Joe McGee, or Maggie, McGee, I think it is. Thank you, McGee. Joe, thank you for the 20 spot, brother. Who do I think would be my grandmother's favorite wrestler this day and age? That's a fucking fascinating question. You know, for people that don't know, my grandmother adored Hulk Hogan. Adored Hulk Hogan. Biggest Hulkamaniac at the time. I have a picture of my grandmother on a cruise in the 80s, and she's standing next to a cutout of Hulk Hogan. I have the picture somewhere. I've showed it before, and it broke my heart because I was like, one day I'm going to have my grandmother meet him. Never got that day. She'd see him at the Garden, but never got to meet him backstage. And she died in 91. And, you know, I think to this day, despite the Hogan Knows Best, despite him saying the N-word, despite the stuff with Nick, even back then when he got arrested, I think she still would have found something good in Hulk. She was just a lifer. She loved that man. It was almost a weirdness to it. But this day and age, who would be her favorite? Oh, it would have to, you know what? As strange as this sounds, I think right now it might be Sting. I might be Sting. She never watched NWA. Remember, she died in 91, so Sting at that time was still extremely young in his career. But I think maybe Sting, if I had to choose a WWE wrestler, she probably would like Roman Reigns. Even though he's a heel, you know, my grandmother was always about the good guy and everything, but I think she would probably like Roman Reigns. But that's probably who I would go with. I think she would get a kick out of Roman Reigns. The Rock, absolutely. The Rock, without a doubt. I don't think she would have liked Steve Austin. I don't think she would have liked the beer shit and everything. I think the funny thing is, if she was alive to see The Rock and Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania, I think by far she would have been Hulk all the way. But I will say this very quickly. I could only imagine her reaction when Hulk Hogan betrayed WCW. This is the new world order, brother. I could only imagine upstairs how she was reacted to it. I got to look back at the weather that time. If there was like major thunderstorms, that's probably my grandmother like stepping on the sky going, fuck you. You broke my heart. Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. Thank you, Joe, for that. Thank you for letting me share a little memory of my grandmother. I'm going to find that picture. It's somewhere here, but if I showed you this desk right now, I'd be embarrassed. It looks like it's a mess. It's a mess. Byron Cutler, do I think Andrade goes back to WWE when his contract is up? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think he reunites with Charlotte. I think especially with WWE going back to the, not necessarily Lucha Libre, but, you know, I'm not trying to be controversial here. Remember what Kevin and I said 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago, about Carlito? Something is up. The guy came back, and I almost feel like WWE has had second thoughts about Carlito. Am I saying he's going to be released anytime soon? Probably not. But it wouldn't surprise me if he was. But Santos Escobar, you know, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, good guys, but they ain't selling tickets. I think Andrade going back to WWE, not only could he fit right in there and feud with Ray, feud with Santos, feud with Dominik, you know, and there's others, but I also think he has upped his game so much that he's not brought in simply because he's a Latino wrestler. It's not because he's just Lucha Libre. Like, he definitely could hold his own. I think Andrade absolutely comes back. Why wouldn't WWE bring him back? I mean, why wouldn't they? You know, Roosh enjoyed the freedom, a little bit of an easier schedule in AEW, and AEW offered him good money. I cannot listen. I'll make this clear. When I say that WWE never negotiated with Will Ospreay, that's the truth. When I say that, and like Kevin said, WWE doesn't need MJF right now, that's the truth. 4 or 5 years from now, yeah, absolutely. But right now, with everything else going on, MJF is not going to just roll right in there and get a major spot. Who's he going to feud with? Seriously. Not the right time. You see some names that, Jay White. WWE's got to have Jay White, wants Jay White, needs Jay White. Jay White chose AEW. We knew from the get-go that Jay White was signing with AEW, just like Will Ospreay and everybody else. But I can honestly say Roosh legitimately was pursued by WWE, and he chose to stay with AEW. That is the truth. You know, some people do choose to stay. And look, the amount of money that Roosh is getting and his schedule, if you look at his win-loss record in AEW, it's probably 500. He's probably got like 20 wins and 20 losses. You know, people think that, oh, he's finally getting a push. No, you got to look at it a little bit closer. But his schedule is not really, deep. He doesn't have to work 2 times a week, 8 times a month for AEW. You look and you see sometimes, I think he's only been on Dynamite 3 or 4 times this year. If you think I'm lying, go look it up. It hasn't been that many times. That's the perception. He's been on Dynamite probably 4 times, maybe 5 this year. I don't see Bad Bunny and CM Punk going at it. I do not see that. Interesting. Just like I said, I don't want to see CM Punk and Steve Austin. I don't want to see that. I don't think it's going to be what people think it's going to be. You know, you could try to go on a little bit of reality there, but man, I don't think it would mesh well. I really don't see that match happening. It could, and maybe it would pleasantly surprise me, but I don't really see that happening. By the way, if you're interested, tomorrow is the 9-year anniversary of Kevin Owens' debut in NXT. And I think it's also the anniversary that Sami Zayn won the NXT championship. Tomorrow's a 9-year anniversary of that. So tomorrow's also the anniversary of the Muda scale. If anybody knows what the Muda scale is, I think it happened tomorrow back in 1992. I think it was. I was preparing this week's history episode. So Rocky Red. What's up, Rock? Who's my favorite non-Mets, non-Yankees player and team? I couldn't tell you players right now. How about Ohtani? Yeah, would he get $700 million from the Dodgers? I'm blown away by that number. But you see what he could do with pitching. You see what he could do with hitting. That guy is a, once in a generation player. So, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but when you see the streets of LA and then you see a stadium, a baseball company spending $700 million on a player, let me put it this way. If I'm Ohtani, I immediately dedicate like $10 million to help Los Angeles and their streets and their homeless problem. It's a tax write-off. If he doesn't fucking do that right away, seriously, if I'm hurting in Los Angeles and I see all the shit going on with homeless and everything else, and this guy's getting paid $700 million, I would show up at the stadium and piss all over the statues. Seriously. It's just kind of like, you think about that aspect of it. I mean, it's not Ohtani's fault, but I got to see him dedicate money to his community. As far as non-Mets or Yankees players, there's nobody I could think of right now. I'm really happy for the Yankees getting Juan Soto, and the Mets, we'll see what they do. I mean, I still am mad that they got rid of Scherzer. But we'll see what they do in 2024. Ohtani not playing until 2025? That could very well be. But no, why would that? Oh, yes. I remember there was some weird stipulation or some out of the ordinary stipulation might be with his contract. But Ohtani, I wouldn't spend $700 million. I would not. Not for one player. I would take that money and get a couple of really, really, really top-notch quality players and fill some very needed positions. It's like playing Monopoly. Like, do you want to just have Boardwalk and Park Place? Or would you rather own like half the board? I'd rather own half the board and have people land on the purples and the greens and the yellows. And then ultimately they'll have to, mortgage Boardwalk and Park Place. Eric, what's up? Who do I think Drew faces at WrestleMania? Would love him versus Randy Orton. All right. I think that could really happen. And I'm not saying it simply because you brought that up. That's a great idea. Cody is taking on Roman. Right now, CM Punk is the favorite to win the Royal Rumble. I think that is insane. CM Punk, in my opinion, just an opinion, not reporting. In my opinion, CM Punk is not fighting for a world heavyweight championship at WrestleMania. If he faces Seth Rollins to main event night 1, it will not be for the title. I still believe Drew McIntyre will defeat Seth Rollins before WrestleMania, and Drew McIntyre could very well end up facing Randy Orton. The only problem is Randy Orton is on SmackDown. So if Randy Orton remains on SmackDown, I think we will get Randy Orton versus LA Knight. I think this tag team will continue. Hell, I'll go one step further. Have Randy Orton and LA Knight beat the Judgment Day for the tag titles. Fuck the Creed brothers. Creed brothers have plenty of years ahead of them. Let them come this close to winning. But no. Have Randy Orton and LA Knight beat the Judgment Day for the tag titles. Then they could lose it to whoever before WrestleMania, have a falling out, and then they have a match against each other at Mania. Or you do a tag team gauntlet at WrestleMania. Do you dare have Damian Priest and Finn Balor keep those belts to Mania? If you keep the belts on Damian Priest and Finn Balor at WrestleMania, you could do a tag team turmoil match, and you could have LA Knight and Randy Orton. You could have the Creed brothers. You could have the Street Profits. You could have the New Day if you want. And then you have LA Knight and Randy Orton win the tag team titles at WrestleMania. And then once Damian Priest and Finn Balor lose those belts, Finn Balor could turn on Damian Priest. Judgment Day could turn on Damian Priest. Dominik Mysterio could turn on Damian Priest. And then Damian Priest leaves WrestleMania as a babyface. So that's two scenarios I go with. Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa. I like it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that right now. We're probably getting Jimmy versus Jey at WrestleMania. That's why, if you notice, I didn't mention Jimmy Uso or Jey Uso as a tag team title match. I think Solo Sikoa get a rematch with John Cena. Get a rematch. John Cena. Put his career on the line. If I lose at WrestleMania for a second, against Solo for a second time, I leave. I retire. And then John Cena wins it. Hey, we're coming up with some pretty good matches for WrestleMania. I think all of those are doable. Seriously, I think they're all doable. Solo Sikoa, John Cena rematch with John Cena's career on the line. Solo thought he took him out for good, or took him out. John Cena returns. Now I'm going to take you out for good. He puts his career up on the line. I don't see Damian Priest cashing in at WrestleMania 40. I don't see that happening at all. It's possible, but I still think Drew McIntyre has the belt, gets his WrestleMania moment as a world heavyweight champion, and I still love the idea of Sami Zayn beating Drew for the belt in the main event in Saudi Arabia. I could see that happening. I would think that would be an insane main event, and Saudi Arabia would go bonkers for that. If Sami Zayn were to become world heavyweight champion in Saudi Arabia. I know it's not Canada, but Ray versus Dom, hair versus mask match, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. That could very well happen. You could do that with Santos Escobar. You could have Santos Escobar do a hair versus mask match, Rey versus Santos. But I just don't see Santos without hair. Dominik Mysterio getting a haircut would be major, major entertaining. Don't know if that'll happen. All right. How long we've gone? Oh, we're only at 65 minutes, so we can stick around a few more minutes. I don't want to overdo it. Let me give you a little announcement. It's not official. Haven't figured it out yet. But 2024, some of these shows are going to be changing a little bit. It's just too many hours a week. And what I'm noticing, you may not notice it, but I do. What I'm noticing is I'm being asked a lot of questions weekly, not here, but just overall, that I know I answered the week before on a show. And the thing is that I think there's too many shows as far as news go. Something may consolidate to Mondays. Monday may be undergoing a change. I'm not going to say what that change is yet because it's not definite. But one of the shows is going to have to go away. It might be Wednesday. I'm not sure, because it would be stupid to do a Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday show. That's too much. So Wednesday, I got to look at. Saturday, I got to look at. Sunday will probably stay because Sunday is just interacting. You know, whatever we're talking about, you know, it's you and I. But something is getting consolidated. And I will also say this. If what I think is going to happen happens, then as far as YouTube goes, something is going to change where there's going to be one big episode a week. And on YouTube, it'll be similar to like Cornette's. We'll have clips of specific discussions. Not only so it's easier for people to see it or pick up on it, but even in the future, if something happens or something needs to, you know, be revamped, the discussion is there. I just don't have the time right now to put clips up. There's a lot of people with podcasts that'll put 30 clips a week. And, you know, that is a major deal. I don't have that time. The only way I can do that is if one or two shows go away. And that should happen. I just don't know which ones yet. But there's going to be some change in 2024. But in the end, it's all good. It's all good. And it might help the shows go to the next level. Especially if I have a co-host with one of them. Not going to say what that is. All right. Bobby Means, what if Tiffy makes her debut at WrestleMania 40? Would I have a go? Who would I have a go up against? I don't think I would do a rematch with Becky Lynch. I don't think that's necessary. Tiffany Stratton. I don't see Tiffany Stratton debuting at WrestleMania 40. You want to do it the night after or the SmackDown after? That's possible. I don't see Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania 40. If Jade Cargill has a match at Mania, I don't think you put Tiffany Stratton in there. I think Jade Cargill is the focal point. You know, as far as like somebody who's making, look, I think Jade in the Royal Rumble is still a big possibility. I think her throwing people over the top rope would be fucking great. And guess what? If you have 10 women throw Jade over the top rope, Jade loses nothing from there. I think a Diesel from like, what was it, 1995? You start eliminating people, people start getting behind you, then you have a whole bunch of people eliminate. It took 10 people to eliminate Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill loses nothing with that. So we will see. We will see. Andrade versus Seth will not happen. It's going to be Seth and CM Punk. And there's a clip floating around. I'm going to share it tomorrow. Seth getting the CM Punk chance at the house shows and Seth playing up to it. And the fans are doing exactly what CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and WWE wants right now. When CM Punk is out there, you get the Seth serenade going. When Seth is out there, you get the CM Punk chants going. Right now, CM Punk isn't acting frazzled. Is that the right way? Or rattled would be an easier word. He doesn't look rattled by it. But sooner or later, that serenading is going to get CM Punk visibly annoyed. Storyline. There's some people out there that actually think that Seth is like irate when the fans chant CM Punk, disrespectful. No, at this point in the game, things have been ironed out enough that their goal is to make money, make history, and make a moment. That's exactly what's going on. Everything you see, what's happening to Seth is what happened to Finn when he was feuding with Seth. Michael, we just gave a whole bunch of women's matches predictions. I think Jade versus Charlotte is absolutely. You know what? No, he's actually right. The more I think about it, we really didn't come up with women's matches. Rhea Ripley's taking on Maxine Dupree on Monday. And I'll say it. Rhea Ripley is dominant. Rhea Ripley backs that ass up in the ring. She is great. She's got the look. She's got the persona. She's got the dedication. She's got charisma, ability, everything. She's got the 5 tools. Her title reign has sucked. Her title reign has not been very, very, I shouldn't say sucked. It hasn't lived up to the expectations. Crown Jewel might have been her best moment. But you look at her run since WrestleMania, I'm not as impressed as people out there think. And I want to make this clear, it's not her fault in any way. Her run has been very underwhelming. I don't think she's had a very, very impressive run. And that's WWE's fault. And tomorrow she's taking on Maxine Dupree. I like Maxine Dupree, but that's the best you could do. Like, of course, somebody may come out after the match is over and have a little bit of a stare down with Rhea Ripley, and we'll see where that goes. But it doesn't feel like Rhea Ripley's all the way up here. And she's so good that she's all the way up here and everybody is here. I feel like that with Io Sky. Io Sky is so good that, yeah, let her stay with the belt. But with Rhea Ripley, I don't know, man. Her run since she won that title has been very, very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Maggie, I have not heard more about Charlotte's injury status as of yet. Yesterday we showed the footage and we're hoping that she hyperextended her knee or her leg. Look, and I say this not as a doctor or any news, but Charlotte is so athletic. She's so, what's the right word? She's so, maybe athletic is the right word, but she's so flexible. That's what I want to use. She's so flexible that, let me put it this way. If I did a split right now, I'd have 95 muscles tear on me. I wouldn't be able to walk for a year. Charlotte Flair is so flexible that hopefully, because she stretches, that spot, hopefully she just maybe hyperextended it and did not tear it. When you're not flexible right like that, that could easily be a tear. So I'm hoping that it's not a tear. I'll try to get some news for tomorrow. By the way, if you saw the preview for tomorrow's show, I wrote this 2 days ago, and there is an update regarding the Yeet stuff. Remember we talked about that guy yesterday, and we said that he might have been trying to ask for a little bit too much from the WWE? Well, he apparently reeled it in a little bit, and WWE may have worked it out to be able to use it. Now, understand something. Just because said wrestler says to WWE and Jey Uso, you could use it, that's not how it goes. Legal papers have to be drawn up. They need to be signed. They need to be notarized. They need to be returned. It needs to be viewed by a lawyer. That doesn't happen in 24 hours. So whatever has happened, if they're allowed to use it again, then this was worked out about a week or so ago. But tomorrow we should know. We should know. If you see Jey Uso with the Yeet shirt again, then you know. Eric is asking, does Seth interrupt the CM Punk contract signing? I think what could happen is Seth Rollins either to CM Punk's face or earlier in the night in an interview says something really, really nasty to CM Punk or at CM Punk, and CM Punk, because of that, to spite Seth Rollins, he signs the contract. CM Punk will sign the contract not because Jey Uso is on Raw, not because Drew McIntyre turned heel, not because Cody Rhodes is there, not because Sami Zayn is there or anybody else. I almost said Kevin Owens. He's on SmackDown. He will sign the contract to fuck with Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins will be involved in that yesterday, and that will make CM Punk's decision a little bit clearer. I just hope Nick Aldis shows up, because in storyline, as we said yesterday, it makes sense. Adam Pearce went to SmackDown last week trying to romance Randy Orton. Why wouldn't Nick Aldis in storyline, if he wants to sign CM Punk, why wouldn't he go to Raw and have that last-minute pitch? I want you so bad. I know that sounds perverted. I want you so bad I showed up on Raw. Once again, come to SmackDown. I'll give you the bloodline. Or I'll give you whatever. It's kind of similar to the Randy Orton stuff, but all right. We're going to wrap this up in 10 minutes. Definitely don't want to push it tonight because we got a show tomorrow. Let's see. Joe, what do I think of Nick Khan's business plan to cut down house shows in C&D towns? Well, did Nick Khan actually go on record as saying that, or is somebody claiming that? I have not seen an SEC filing for it. I have not seen TKO Group Holdings saying that. Can they eliminate house shows in some areas where ticket sales are kind of light? Absolutely. It's a different way of trimming the fat. It's a publicly traded company. You have to answer to investors every quarter. So if they're not releasing another 40 people, then you have to cut expenditures somewhere. Consolidating the offices is already in play. But if there's some markets within, listen, you got to realize this. Every week, it seems like we hear WWE had the biggest grossing event in Chicago, biggest grossing event in Texas, biggest grossing event in New Jersey, biggest grossing. So if they're getting that kind of business, are they really doing poor anywhere? I mean, if you're knocking it out of the park with ticket sales, why are you going to cut back? So if there's an area where they're just not drawing well, of course I would consider cutting that. But doing one show a week instead of two, yeah, I could see that depending on what it is. But again, did Nick Khan actually say that? Or did somebody claim that they have a source that talked to Nick Khan? I know people are saying that, no, they have not heard Nick Khan say this. Again, it's a publicly traded company. Investors would want to know this. They're not going to tell WrestlingDickhead.com this exclusive scoop. Investors want to know. Wait, WWE's going to cut back on their house shows, but they're getting record revenue right now. Where are they considered? Yeah, investors need to know that. Not WrestlingNews.net. Dream match, Andrade versus Kevin Owens. That's a good one. That is a good one. Very good one. Kevin Milwaukee, will we see another scaffold match in the coming years? Or how would we book a modern one? If it happens, I could see it happen in AEW. I think, scaffold, let me put it this way. A scaffold match, if anybody's ever seen it, could be very, very scary. But when you have wrestlers diving off blood and guts into the ring, or somebody doing a crazy moonsault from the top of a cage, the scaffold is not that much higher. You're not going to go 100 feet in the air, but yeah, you could pull off a scaffold match still. It would be very, very rare. I don't know why you would do it. Is it necessary to do in 2023? AEW may consider doing it because the other stuff people are getting numb to, but falling off the scaffold, if you know how to fall, I mean, it's still going to hurt, but it's not going to be as crazy as it would come across. You just don't want to do what, New Jack and Vic Grimes did, or Brian Lee and Tommy Dreamer did, and have a ton of tables underneath just waiting, to catch you. You don't do that. That shit's scary, man. But I'm telling you, man, I know people don't want to hear it, but when Vic Grimes was in XPW, I talked to Vic Grimes about the stuff with New Jack, and they truly did not like each other. But it was an unfortunate accident that happened in ECW. Vic Grimes knew that he was going to fall off when he had the match in XPW with New Jack. He did not expect to fall the way he did. But, if New Jack was truly trying to kill Vic Grimes, police would have been involved. He was not trying to kill. But Vic Grimes knew that, what happened to New Jack in ECW, and he sucked it up and took it like a man, like nobody could. And, it's left in infamy. It's left in infamy. They did not like each other. I want to make that clear. But, he knew that that was the receipt. What happened in ECW, I'm going to take the dive in XPW. He got paid a decent amount of money to do it. And believe me when I tell you, if Vic Grimes wasn't paid comfortably, Vic Grimes wouldn't have remained in XPW, wouldn't have done the stuff on the Northeast. One of the nicest guys I ever met in wrestling. You would never think it, because you think of Kilo. Remember when he was Kilo in WWE? You would have never thought that Vic Grimes was one of the most soft-spoken, nicest guys that you ever met. I still will never forget. I mean, I don't know if he's married with kids, so maybe I shouldn't tell the story, but I'll never forget. I'll say it. It's not a big deal. We were all, at one point single. He was single at the time. Back in the early 2000s, I was selling on eBay an X-rated video, and it was Beulah McGillicuddy, the wife of Tommy Dreamer. She was not married to him at the time. She did a Penthouse video. A lot of you know the Silver Bullet story. I had the video with audio, because everybody had that video, had no audio. They would try to splice in like other porn music. Nobody had the audio. I had the audio. I also needed to put other people on the tape. So I put, you remember Chastity? Remember Chastity, who was the valet for Sandman, and then she went to WCW? She did a porn called Live Bait. I still have the porn. Supposedly it's worth a crazy amount of money. I still have the original VHS tape, Live Bait. I put that on there. Then I put the night that Kimono Wanalea danced atop the ECW arena on the Raven's Nest, the Eagle's Nest. And I put that on there. And then I was like, I still need to put something else. So I put the wedding night of Tanya Harding and Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee on the boat. So I sold it for $20 on eBay, and I sold probably hundreds of them. And I remember XPW was coming to Philly in 2002. It was like the second or third event. And I remember Vic Grimes calling me up. He's like, could you bring me one of those tapes? And I was like, yeah, I'll bring it. And I gave him one of the tapes. It's a true story. True story. And trust me, if you had the tape with Beulah and Kimona and Chastity and Tanya Harding, that wedding night was disgusting. And Pamela and Tommy Lee, if you had that tape, you remember that tape. I don't know who Jade McDonald is, Mike. Sounds familiar, but I don't know who that is. AG, why do AEW keep guys around like Big Show and Mark Henry around? They clearly aren't giving advice how these guys wrestle on it. They're ambassadors. They do a lot of PR work, a lot of community work. They are very, very experienced in the business. So wrestlers may not be approaching them for advice, but on the executive level and on the corporate level and the PR level and community, you know, they want Mark Henry and Paul White. They don't want, you know, best friends. I don't mean to criticize them, but they do a lot behind the scenes. You'd be surprised. Okay. 3 more minutes and we're out of here. I know. 3-minute warning. 3-minute warning, everyone. Did somebody say 3 minutes? All right. Yes, smash that like button if you enjoy. If you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe. You hear me say that like once a month. I rarely. When was the last time I actually threw something like this on the screen? Seriously, if you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe. Man, I was hoping to get by the end of 2023 like up to 35,000 subscribers, and we're around 31,000. I'm not complaining, but you know, I definitely want to earn, you know, your subscribing. Channel members, you know, that's pretty cool as well. You know, you get my Patreon show. We do some contests, and Wednesday Night Dynamite, you get on there too, and something might be added to there soon. Can't say what it is. It's not definite yet. See, Henry, how do I feel about today's wrestling era? Honestly, I'll say it like this, and there's not a plug for Patreon. I put up 34 retro episodes on Patreon the last month. And, you know, I go through them because I got to make sure, you know, some of the things that we said back then, you know, are okay with 2023 standards. But my point is, as I go back to the early to mid 2000s, I go back to 2010, I go back to 2014, and I go to today, I could honestly tell you that the last time that I really feel that we enjoyed talking about wrestling this much was probably the mid 2000s when Kurt Angle first went to TNA. You know, before, you know, It's On, Brother, which, by the way, the anniversary is January 4th, coming up soon. So I think for the first time since the mid to late 2000s, I would say around 2007, 2008, because you still had, you know, really, really, really solid WWE roster, and TNA still had a great roster as well. The 2010s, it's kind of a blur. You know, when you think of the, you know, then the ECW stuff, and then, you know, that folded and then NXT came around. But then again, you got the Wyatt family. Like, it had its moments. I mean, some of my favorite wrestlers in the last 20 plus 30 years, you know, within the last decade or so. But I think right now it's more fun than it was 10 years ago. You know, again, Wyatt family and some of the exceptions were tremendous 10 years ago. But there was spurts, little moments here and there. I listened to the vibe of Kevin and I talking 10 years ago. And, you know, we still had solid convo, but you could see when you started getting into the 2010s, 15s, you know, just something was not what it was. But right now, I would say it's on the level from mid to late 2000s. That's kind of what I feel. And that's why, you know, we still do this. You know, if I did this just for money, I'd be living in a cardboard box right now, honestly. But we love wrestling still, and we wanted to see it get better. I don't want to see AEW fold. Even if it's a controversial, get crazy views, hits from it, I don't want to see it go under. I don't want to see any wrestling promotion go under. I want to see things get better, because the better it is, the more we talk about. And the funny thing is, the episode I put up earlier, which was January 4th, 2010, the night TNA showed up on Monday night, Hogan made his debut, Bret Hart returned to WWE. We did 3.5 hours, and we were enjoying TNA at the time. We were enjoying some of what we saw. And then, obviously, Hogan infiltrated it, and a lot of it went caca. But, at that time, it was pretty fun, to be part of that stuff. Thank you, Triple X. Rest in peace to Frank Wycheck and Steve McNair. I loved that 1990s Tennessee Titans team. Life is so fragile. Wait, Steve McNair just passed away? When did this happen? Don't super chat that, but when did that happen? Steve McNair, what was he, number 5? Did he throw left-handed? Steve McNair. If anybody knows his career and says yes to one of those, I used to be a big football fan. Oh, yeah, he passed away in 2009. I was saying to myself, wait a minute. He just died? I feel like we've been there. But didn't Steve McNair, was he number 5, or did he throw left-handed? Hopefully I got one of those right. But Steve McNair, yeah, he died in 2009. Oh, that's right. The woman stabbed him. Wait, he was on a couch, right? He was on a couch. I think he was on a couch. And no, I think he might have bang. Some words we're not supposed to say on YouTube, by the way. He was number 9. Okay, I was close. But when was he on the couch? I could swear I remember he was on the couch. Yes, I see. I don't lie in these shows. I might get things wrong, but if I think I remember something, I do. I remember this story. He was on the couch. He might have even been sleeping. Maybe I'm pushing my memory a little bit too far, but yeah, that was fucked up, man. He died many years ago. What about Frank Wycheck? When did Frank Wycheck pass away? She's in jail still. Or did she, do a Benoit? I don't know. I think she did get it. Did she get arrested? I think she did. I don't know, but I remember the couch. And I was like, wow, that's fucked up, man. He was very young. Frank Wycheck died from a fall in his home last night. Wow. Damn. Look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. We haven't talked about him in years and years and years, but you don't ever want to see someone pass, let alone fall. How many times did I used to say on the shows that when you get older, even a fall could do you in? And then we had even said that, and I think a week later that happened to Scott Hall. When you get older, even me, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I lose my balance and I get scared because I've fallen down the steps a couple of times the last couple of years. And, I've just turned an ankle. But, I hear people fall and break a hip, and next thing you know, they're gone. Blood clot or something like that. And you're like, holy shit. Damn. Joe McGee, thank you very much, my friend. I really do appreciate it. He sent a 20 spot just because. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Michael Vick. Yeah, Michael Vick, man. I just can't see how you could ever be entertained by what those dogs were doing to each other. Or roosters or whatever you want. I just can't. I can't. I don't even like to see women in MMA. I was never into, I just can't see a woman busting inside. Even if it was the ghetto streets of the Bronx, just a bad video, or even those reality shows with Mimi Leaks and all that stuff. I was never into seeing women fight. Even the Real Housewives, all those Italian gangster wives. I never sat there and was good, fuck her up. I was I never was into that. But thank you again, Joe. All right. She Benoit. Yeah, she Benoit. Yeah, the more I think about it now, that makes sense because I don't remember the trial. As far as her, yeah, she was just. By the way, something tomorrow. BJ Whitner, was that his name? The guy who beat up his girlfriend we talked about not too long ago. He's going on trial, and some additional info came out, and I think it was BJ Whitner. I got to make sure. I don't want to accuse someone of domestic violence when I'm the wrong person, but the info that we got that time ended up being right, that she didn't want nothing to do with him anymore, and he showed up and not only forced his way into the house, but tried to do her in, and he's paying a price for it. AEW fired him. They did the right thing. Velveteen Dream doesn't look so bad right now. Rick Real, I'm not trying to defend him. What did he actually do? Seriously. What did he actually do? I would never, I want to make this clear, I would never at 3 o'clock in the morning be chatting online with teenagers. Period. I don't care how much even I was doing a live stream and they super chatted me, bucks. I would not be in the middle of the night talking to teenagers. The minute I'm chilling with some people talking and somebody says, yeah, I start high school next week. Oh, cool. Oh, my battery's low. Got to go. I don't care how innocent he may have tried to be. What school did you go to? This, and that. I could show you this. You want to be nice? Soon as you know you're talking to a teenager, that's it. Oh, I got to go. My cat's crying in the background, but you don't have a cat. I do now. Click. BJ Whitner. I think that's who it was, right? It's got to be. It sucks because some people that commit that kind of violence, you would never think. You would never think it. When stuff happened with Benoit, you remember the episode we did. We never in a million years thought, even though you heard things about Nancy, and I'm not trying to throw any shade to her at all, but she could push someone's buttons. Like if she wanted to, what do they use now? Oh, he got cooked. He got cooked. Is that what they use online on Twitter when you insult someone and you really own them? Got cooked. She know how to cook someone. She wanted to put you down, put you in your place, she could. We never ever thought in a million years that Chris Benoit could do what he did. And by the end of that show, we opened the show paying tribute. The end of the show, we were spitting on him. Everything was happening in real time. That was crazy that time. Look, seriously, I'm not trying to say the Velveteen Dream is an innocent guy, but really, what did he actually do? What did he do? What did he do? He made the mistake talking to teenagers. That, even though that's not illegal, should never have done that. That was his biggest mistake. But really, what did he do? WWE, he gave his phone up. WWE sent it out to a forensics company, and they wiped the phone, and they found nothing. And he didn't use bleach bit. They found nothing. It's just that people online refused to accept that. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted a reason to get this guy out of wrestling, and they succeeded. Do I think Velveteen Dream has recurring nightmares where he's walking down the aisle and somebody, there's always going to be a troll. What school did you go to? You know what I would do if you really want to troll? What wrestling school did you go to? And the funny thing is, if you say it normal, he probably doesn't even realize you're trolling him. He'll be like, oh, I went to Killico. Hey, wait a minute. That's probably what it'd be. Hey, Dream, what wrestling school did you go to? But meanwhile, you're trying to troll him. And he probably would fall for it too. You can picture that, right? He's walking out, you see him at an autograph signing. Hey, Dream, what wrestling school did you go to? Oh, well, I went to oh, wait a minute. Fuck you. That's what I would do. But I wouldn't do it. Theme parks and things with Johnny. Thank you for the vice spot, Johnny. Did I happen to see Cora Jade in the CM Punk moment backstage? She broke character, and she got back in professionally. Yes. For those that didn't see it, there's an infamous photo of Cora Jade, 15 years old, she looks like, braces, and she's posing with CM Punk. And CM Punk has got this, look with his tongue sticking out, like looking goofy. Nothing perverted about it or anybody, because look, you think back of CM Punk at that time, trust me, he was a ladies' man, but he wasn't a teenager's ladies' man. I wouldn't even say that. But there's that infamous photo. Cora Jade loves CM Punk as a wrestler, and even to a degree as a person. And he has showed support for her in the past. Now, with her being a women's wrestler and CM Punk in the company and CM Punk at NXT Deadline yesterday, she was doing a backstage interview in character, and here comes CM Punk. And CM Punk, even though she's a heel, he's like, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Ignore the negativity. Good or bad, keep doing what you're doing. And he was very, very proud of her. He gave her a hug. She started crying. And there's a very, very cool video, cool picture online. And then once he left, she was in tears and she appreciated it. And then she was like, that's why and she went right back into character. It was very, very cool. Very cool. And genuine. Like I said, the easiest way I could describe the vibe. No drama. There's no drama in WWE right now. There's no drama. People can't use Vince anymore. TKO Group Holdings, yeah. You're going to see employees let go. You're going to see some wrestlers let go. You're going to see some surprises. That's what happens in business, corporate world. Nothing, you could do about it. The only thing you could do is worry about your own backyard and give them a reason not to let you go. But there's very little drama right now. And that's the big difference, I think, between WWE and AEW. WWE comes off as no drama, even though people want to try to create it. People say, CM Punk has an attitude clause, which we already ripped that to pieces. Why? That's not even news. And then, today, they've only sold 8,000 tickets in Australia. And the best part about it is I love WrestleNomics, but they're really, really cute sometimes. Instead of posting a thread by itself, like Sean Ross Sapp did and others, saying, to be clear, WWE has sold almost 30,000 tickets. They responded to a tweet that was deleted and never posted a thread to everywhere. And again, why would you run? Because I'm going to say it. Meltzer is the one that put it out there. Why would you run wrestling news sites, not WrestleNomics, but everyone else? Why would you run and report that as fact without checking yourself? 8,000 doesn't sound like an awfully low number. All you do is do a little research and be like, oh, Dave, you're wrong. And then be that wrestling news site that says, contrary to reports, WWE sold close to 30,000 tickets. Guess what? Fightful did that. No one else did. And those to try to defend Dave, he must have read it wrong. With all due respect, Dave seems to read things wrong quite often when it comes to WWE. Doesn't it seem? Why do people why make an excuse for someone reporting something wrong? Why not just say, just to clarify, per the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE sold close to 30,000 tickets. Instead, Dave must have read it wrong. Unbelievable. I see what you guys are doing. You're forcing me to hang around a little bit longer. Gets late. Gets harder to type up a synopsis, guys. Last week I was throwing up at this time. We finished the show and I started getting this cold sweat and I got sick. And I was like half in a daze. And if I would have typed up a synopsis last week, it would have looked like the Iron Sheik wrote it. If you ever seen the Iron Sheik write something down, the way he worded it, everything would have been misspelled, poor grammar. I saw 3 keyboards, not 1. But we are going to wrap this up any minute. So, all right. I think we can wrap it up. Yes, I'm looking at questions. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, if that happens, it's not going to be until way after Roman no longer has a championship. Roman Reigns will not have the championship when CM Punk fights him. Just like I believe Seth Rollins will not have the championship when CM Punk fights him. When CM Punk fights Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, neither time will either guy have a championship. That is my opinion. And I have a feeling I'm going to be right. Yeah, I think we could go. All right, let's get out of here. So tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow we have Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Rhea Ripley versus Maxine Dupri. And we have, I believe, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso, which people were advertising that. I saw a commercial for that during SmackDown, and I was like, why so soon? Like, why are we getting that again? I'm not crapping on it, but why are we getting that again? I wonder if that changes, or maybe it's a dark match. I didn't see WWE advertise it as of this airing, this recording of this show, but by now they might have put something up. But that is a possible match to be on Raw. And then obviously CM Punk will make it official. He'll be on the Raw brand. He'll sign the fictitious contract, and Seth Rollins will not be happy. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I'm going to get out of here. So once again, if you enjoyed the show, smash that thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, take a moment and subscribe. If you want to consider becoming a channel member, go check that out. You know, we give some stuff back over there. We don't X to break the bank. And patreon.com/Don Tony. I will be on Patreon this Tuesday. Kev will be doing, I believe, the 100th episode of KNT Chronicles this Thursday with Trez. I believe it's episode 100. I don't even know if he's aware of it. I got to let him know. And, you know, in the very near future, I will have some announcements as far as some shifting of shows and consolidating for 2024. And, yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what goes on in 2024. And we'll be closing out 2023. Very interesting because AEW has World's End. And we kind of have an idea already of what's going to be happening with this Devil reveal. And we'll see the discussions that we had if that happens. All I could tell you is that a few people have said to me, DT, you might be onto something. Something is going to happen to force MJF to stay with AEW. I almost said WWE. And God forbid MJF were to leave AEW at this point. That would be a massive, massive blow. And I don't see that. I see MJF already signed for a very long time, way back in early 2023. And we'll see where the storyline goes. But hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday. If you're around Monday night after Raw, I'll be up here doing a Raw recap and a review. We'll preview the history show that drops every Tuesday. And I think that's pretty much it. We got everything else pretty much up to date. Let me know what you think about what I said at the beginning of the show about Dem Boyz stuff. Again, not trying to be a jerk. And you know what's interesting? I am reloading my tweet right now because we are now 2 hours later. As of now, as I go off the air, there's 11 likes. There is a response. Okay, Xylot Theme says I made a good point. Blue Jay Bry says that the reason why everybody's upset is because WWE used the spelling with the letter Z at the end, not S. Boy. But you see, 2 hours, 11 likes, and how many people have seen it? Checking it right now. Total of 6,100. You know, it's nobody wants to be told, like, where were you on September 8th when WWE wrote that? Now people are saying because they used the letter Z instead of the letter S. Unbelievable. Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe, bottom line. And thoughts are with his family continued. And definitely a wrong post by WWE on Fox, but I don't believe it was malicious. And again, in September, nobody seemed to really have a problem with it. Now, all of a sudden, calling for people to lose their jobs over it. You know, I don't blame him and people who are close to Jay. I'd be kind of upset. I know I would be upset if one of my loved ones, I can't even imagine what that must feel like. Mark's just misses his brother. At the end of the day, Mark misses his brother. And, it sucks. It sucks what happened. Remember what we said yesterday? I truly believe this is not to diminish how we felt when Eddie Guerrero passed away, when Owen Hart passed away, when, Von Erich passed away, anybody that passed away, Roddy Piper, whoever you want to put in there. But I truly believe when you look at the names and the number of big names, 2023 has got to go down as one of the worst years for wrestler deaths, period. Yesterday we brought up probably 12. There's over 30. And when you realize who passed away in 2023, I truly think it's one of the worst years for wrestler deaths in history. If there's any consolation behind it, at least steroids is not the focal point anymore. And you're not hearing controversy that, look, wrestlers are dying in their 30s. Yeah, I mean, heart issues and stuff like that. I mean, there's always some extraordinary circumstances, but still, I'm going to compile a tribute like we did last year and the year before. I am compiling it as we speak. I still have to do a lot of research because unfortunately there's not as many sites that document every wrestler passing away. So I don't want to be incomplete with it. But as I compile this list, I'm like, man, this year sucked with wrestler deaths. So, all right, everybody, be well. Much love. Hopefully I'll catch you tomorrow night after Raw. If not, you got the shows later this week. So be well. Much love.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody. while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.